also, and I think I had mentioned, I think he's going to be a neon, which means that he's for Sean's benefit. So the Kytons are these insect warrior race, and they are raised in these cohorts that fight as a unit.
Right.
And what happens is if a regiment is reduced to just one person rather than that person kind of joining another regiment or kind of doing something else, he becomes like he becomes like a lone individual and is no longer bound to do anything and can kind of go off on his own or their own and do whatever they want. And so that's sort of like a Ronin essentially. Although it doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the same bag, or it doesn't have the same sort of baggage as like Ronin, but that's essentially what it is, sort of going off on your own. And there's also this idea, which am, we'll just say for Robbie's sake, I think I'll embrace the sort of stereotypical character that they give us in the book, which is that he is a neon who is fascinated by third cycle artifacts. And the other thing, Sean, is that these Kytons they remember being, they have these sort of, it's called racial memories of being transformed during the third cycle from being human into being these creatures. And that's not the case with like the other kind of created species. So so that drives this idea. I guess the idea is it partly drives their curiosity into looking into third cycle stuff. So I'm gonna lean into that and say that that's partly, um, regardless of the circumstances of how my guy's name is Xe'blek ended up on this ship. He's actually interested in what this could mean for him in terms of finding more about third cycle artifacts and history of the third cycle things to kind of explore this personal and species wide history.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. I hadn't read. I don't. Are they the Xe'blek or the? I'm sorry, the Kyton in the main book?
No, they're just in the military races.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, they may be listed just with the creatures, but like the full, backstory and like what you would need to kind of use it as a actual character, I think. Well, they may not even be part of the main. I'm looking at the military. They have some of the military races in the main book, but yeah, they are not. They only have four of the ones in the main book, but yeah, and it's kind of clear that the Kytons were specifically created to be kind of soldiers, right? Kind of infantry types, because like
Yeah.
one of the things that, well, they don't need armor, and they don't use armor because they have this kind of exoskeleton, and then one of their arms is a weapon.
Yeah.
So, it can be a kind of, I think Xe'blek's is a kind of broadsword weapon that he has as one of his arms, but it's not a separate weapon. It's just that's what his appendage is for one of his arms.
Yeah, it's called the impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. But these are not uncommon creatures, right? I mean, I probably would have seen one around at some point.
They are somewhat rare at this particular point. And I think especially in Dolphinia that there aren't a lot around there. Although I think that perhaps there is some interest in bringing some chitin there for various types of purposes.
Yeah, it says they're very rare in Dolphinia at the moment.
Yeah.
And then most of them there seem to be the neon. They seem to be the loners.
Yeah, and in terms of Dolphinia, there are the capital city is called Gravesend, um, and aside, and so and Gravesend is right on the coast. Uh, there is a city called Markstrand, which is uh, fairly close to where Gravesend is located. This is in the more southern region of Dolphinia. Gravesend is located on a bay where there's a large river and also a road that kind of goes off to the west and into the mountains, which is where there are some mines and dwarves who are far out to the west. And then there's in the more northerly portion, there's a city called Skilletan, which is a newer city. And I would say Skilletan has a reputation as being a little bit more sketchy, and that is one of the areas specifically where slaves are permitted, and I think there would be rumors of one of the things that they do is they have a kind of arena with kind of gladiatorial type battles that would take place in the arena, and presumably some of those, maybe most of those people competing in the arena would be slaves that have been kind of brought in. And then I guess to the far north, there is in the deep in the woods a city called Ashleyan, which is a kind of more elven area up in the north with the woods.
I think the opening scene would be good, just for everybody's edification. I chose Earth Magic.
Okay. And do you have a name for your character?
Um, yes, Llewyn. I'll spell it.
You are on a ship called the Golden Squid. It is captained by somebody named Rowley White Mane Luxford. So usually people call him White Mane or Mane, um, and the ship is certainly very seaworthy. It's not the biggest ship, but it's clearly a ship that was made for a little bit of speed. It has a main deck where the foredeck would be up a few steps. You have in the center the main deck, and then there's a foredeck where you would like go up a few steps and be a little bit elevated above that center deck. And also it has an aft deck, right, which is where the helm would be, where you would also kind of step up. So it's kind of raised up on the front and the back, and then kind of the middle part is a little bit lower, and then uh, it has a below deck area. Um, you have a captain's quarters at the front of the boat, and uh, you have also kind of some rooms underneath. The captain's quarters is basically underneath the foredeck, and then you have some other rooms kind of behind the aft deck, and then there's another uh, floor below, which is where the crew's hammocks would be, and stores would be held, and things of that nature. Um, the opening scene. So you were both put on this ship. You were found guilty by the justice system of Genmarin City, and as your punishment, you've been kind of hauled off to this boat, which is now taking you across the ocean. Um, you are initially held under pretty strict watch. By initially, I mean like the first day and a half. You have a room, kind of on the main quote unquote floor, underneath the aft deck. Um, the captain is obviously very keen on kind of keeping his sights on you. Xe'blek, because you cannot be um, uh, weaponless unless they were to remove your arm, your impact is kind of chained up. Like they have, some special kind of chaining that they have done to immobilize that arm. So, it is, currently, you can't use it. It's not painful or anything. They seem to know exactly what they're doing to kind of keep that arm immobilized. And for the first day and a half, you have been, carefully watched. Um, you're, you know, you do have kind of shackles on you to kind of make sure that should you try to do anything that you would find it kind of difficult to run around and things of that sort. But after a day and a half, um, there is um, a gathering that takes place on the main deck. Um, and just to describe the captain, he from the name Whitemane, he has completely white hair. When you get close to him, he smells really strongly of like tobacco and herbs. He always seems to have a pipe in his mouth. And he also is kind of regaled or outfitted with, like, he has a small little telescope, and he has like a sextant that he has hanging from him. So a couple of like map cases that he carries around, and he has like all of these, kind of just hanging from him. The this gathering um, on the main deck has all of the crew. Both of you are there. There are three other humans on board who are also conscripted. They are being kept in a different room, but they're also wearing shackles. But they're brought up above board, and you are taken off to the kind of raised aft deck area near some railings so that the two of you can see what's going on. Down on the main deck, you have the captain, um, and you have his uh, first mate who is down there. The first mate, there's also a woman down there who is the quartermaster, and she is kind of the partner of the first mate who is down there. Um, and there's one of the members of the crew who has been kind of disrobed down to his underwear, and he's having this very smelly, greasy substance that's being painted on him by um, by the first mate. The captain is there um, announcing that this crew member has been caught doing something.
Maybe he left something untied in the storm. Sean sailing knowledge being all the sailing movies he's watched, right? Yeah, leaving something untied in a storm.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, maybe at this initially um, on the way out, it was a little bit more rough than what the plan was, and this one crew member, I mean, maybe left it untied because maybe uh, he was too interested in trying to secure himself, or was perhaps frightened. Who knows? But yeah, he left some of the stores that were like kind of barrels that needed to be kind of secured on the deck that ended up going overboard because of this infraction. It's now kind of smoother sailing. The storm has passed. Uh, that evening. The next day has been much smoother weather, but the captain's going to make uh, going to teach him a lesson, and he wants everybody to see, right, what's going on. And he's there. The first mate is kind of slathering him up with this smelly substance, and you see the quartermaster. She's has a kind of bucket which seems to be filled with the same kind of smelly substance, but she's like chumming, like she's kind of looking off to the side and kind of throwing out some of this substance into the water. You can see out where she's looking. There's like an atoll, just a kind of a couple islands it looks like, but they're basically uninhabitable because they don't go up high enough out of the water, right? But you can kind of see. Um, and the captain is there saying, I pride myself on being a fair captain. You'll get a lot more justice out of me than you'll get from Genmarin City. I can tell you that's for sure. But I tell you, when my orders are not obeyed, and when it's clear that the who is at fault, um, justice is swift, justice is certain, and justice is harsh. So for this fellow, we'll call him Theodorus. It's the it's the silver robe for you, he says. The silver robe. We're putting on your undergarments right now, in preparation for you to be bedecked in silver. And Theodorus is looking there, and he's kind of confused. He's embarrassed. Doesn't really know what is in store for him. And the quartermaster, who's kind of chumming the water, you can see out in the distance near that atoll that something is now kind of moving under the water from the atoll, perhaps attracted by the chum that's hitting the water. And you really can't quite make out what exactly this is, but it does seem to be quite sizable, whatever it is that's moving under the water. And when it gets relatively close, the quartermaster um, yells, "Ah, it is here. The clothing has arrived." And hearing that, the captain kind of gives the signal to the first mate. He stops kind of slathering up Theodorus, ties a rope around Theodorus, and the first mate is a big burly guy, and he picks Theodorus up and just kind of like linebacker tackles him and moves him over to the edge of the ship, and he gets thrown into the water, um, yelling, ah, he's left down there, um, and after a very short period of time, he gets pulled back up to the ship. Um, from the water because he's had this rope around him and they've held
Yep.
on to the rope. Um, and he looks silver. And the this shimmering stuff is kind of over him, and it's all kind of moving. And when you look carefully, you can see that he's basically covered with little fish that have bitten down on him, like small little like minnows. But clearly, they must have some kind of teeth and jaw power. Um, and he's in, Theodorus. I mean, the fish are probably not capable of killing him. I mean, they're too small, probably. I mean, I guess if you left them in there long enough, like little teeny piranhas, they would maybe
Yeah.
do him in. But he's kind of flailing around though, right, with these kind of fish, and um, he gets on the deck. The captain is kind of looking at him, uh, and after a few minutes of Theodorus flailing around, he calls for the quartermaster and the first mate to kind of clean him up, and they'll kind of start pulling off the the little like silver fish, his silver robe. Um, and he also, the captain says, make sure to save those. That's going to be our appetizer tonight. Those little silver fish will be, kind of cooked up. Okay. Now, while this is going on, everybody's very distracted by what's going on. A conversation uh, gets started up between the crew member who is kind of looking over you, and it's it's a crew member. It's a woman. She's dressed like the other members of the crew, but it's kind of clear looking at her. She's not trying to hide the fact that she's a woman. She's not a woman in disguise. Um, Her name is Sadie Zane, and she goes by Shady Dawg. And a lot of times when it gets pronounced, it's more like Shady Dawg. So Shady Dawg is kind of been put in charge of you, and she, while this punishment is occurring, while the spectacle is occurring, um, she starts speaking to you. She's clearly speaking to you in a way that she doesn't want other people to hear or even to notice that she's speaking to you. Like she has a kind of ventriloquism thing that's going on where she's able to kind of hold her mouth still and kind of talk to you. Um, and she says, you've put yourself into a spot, but fortunately for you, uh, a member of the Brotherhood of Runwin uh, is with you. And this Brotherhood, you would know what the Brotherhood of Runwin is. It's a nobody knows how many people are part of it, but it's a group that is specifically opposed to the kind of enslavement that has been going on in Dolphinia. Um, and she says, a member of the Brotherhood of Dolphinia is here, and don't know what kind of use I can be to you at the moment with this ritual of the silver robe occurring, but we will see as the journey uh, continues what might be possible. She says, as we get close to the shore of Dolphinia, uh, the ship will be passing by um, uh, a feature in the ocean. Um, a kind of strange forest in the ocean, and she has connections that she knows will be there. That will be kind of close to the coast. She also is basically freely offering to, she says, oh, as for our ship, we're bound for Skeleton. Not surprisingly, she imagines that um, the people running the arena there are probably quite interested in you. You are this. She says this ship carries a lot of special cargo. It's a special cargo ship, and you are obviously some of the the prize um, booty that the ship is carrying.
I don't. I don't know what they really want with me, because Ewan is very like sort of naughty, but very thin, right? Um, like you could use, or they could use a hamburger or two, um, and uh, it's like I don't know what use I could be to, or I don't know what sport I would be to them, but although I guess my friend here would probably be more to their liking.
Yeah, Shady Dawg says, well, um, the arena takes all types, so I've learned um, that it's not just the the kind of burly uh, you know fighters adept with swords that are uh, taken to the arena. But then she also says, well, and maybe not. I mean, I know we are bound for Skeleton, that's for certain. But as to what exactly the captain and those who've been in touch with the captain have in store for you, that's we'll have to see, I suppose, unless we maybe can get you off this ship before then.
My I I know my destiny lies in Dolphinia, but I do not want to be trapped as a curiosity um, for the criminals who run Skilletan. Uh, you know, if you can, any aid you can give us to free us before I get there, I will repay you in any way I can.
She says it'll be tricky, but when we get to the kind of the forest and the ocean, nearer to the shore, there might be something possible. Um, and she says, and the other advantage we have is you're not the only valuable thing on the ship. She nods towards the other three convicts who were there, and she says, they're that group over there, um, not perhaps as highly prized as you two, but they are there, and she says this is well, you can tell from the ship that it's built for speed, and they're willing to give up the capacity to carry more cargo for speed. But this is the Captain Whitemane. He's known as a contraband runner. He kind of loads up the ship, perhaps with slaves, but also with other other valuable things that he's carrying. So he certainly has you marked as being special cargo, but I mean, I can tell that there's other kind of valuable things that are being carried here as well. She is open. I mean, she says, "Is the there anything else that you would want to know?" We don't have much time here. She does say that typically after she says she does notify you that this kind of silver robe thing that's going on is a typical stop from what she can, she's been on the ship for a short period of time, but the stop is made before, right? That the captain, you know wants to catch somebody doing something,
Yeah.
and then make a stop by the atoll and get those little silver robe fish, to kind of make a display of the person, and have the tasty appetizer, but also kind of make you know a spectacle of the person guilty of the infraction as well, to kind of for especially for this is especially for the new crew members, right, to kind of keep them in line.
Who are the other three? I'll just kind of nod my head to them.
There are three. She says, I'm not entirely sure as to what makes them special. She assumes that they're just going to be more fodder for the arena. She says the arena is also kind of a testing ground, that a lot of people kind of just get put in the arena. They kind of see how, you know what they're capable of, and some of them will stay at the arena, but some will kind of attract the interest of people in the crowd who have perhaps some other use for them. Um, but yeah, that she knows their names. I mean, there's a guy named Fabian Rycroft. There's one named Oleg, and one named Gilton. Um, that I mean, looking at them, they, uh, you know, they they look like that, somewhat physically impressive. I mean, that they look like strong, sturdy types. Um,
Yeah.
Will there be any use of us getting off the ship?
would they be any use? She says, perhaps. She says, you would need to talk to them, or I would need to talk to them. Um, there's some people, actually don't mind going off to Dolphinia. They under whatever circumstances kind of move them there. There certainly are plenty of rumors that there are fortunes to be made. So some people get convicted of crimes in Genmarin City, um, and just depending on what their circumstances are, they may actually be perfectly content to try their luck in Dolphinia.
I'll just sort of look over at my companion and say, "What do you think?"
Um, we should uh, we should approach them at least to see if where they stand on wanting to come into Dolphinia as free men or as property. Uh,
Yeah, and Shady Dawg says, well, there will be opportunities. Typically after the silver robe ceremony is ended, the captain tends to uh, loosen uh, loosen up the sail lines a little bit, and you know, up to this point, you've largely been kind of kept in your, you've been taken out periodically to get some sun and fresh air, but you've largely been kind of locked up in this one room. And she says, that is likely to change. Not that you're going to have kind of completely free reign. You'll be kind of still shackled and hampered, but the idea is that after this, it clears the air and things kind of become a little, you know, more tolerable on the ship for everybody. So, is there anything else? Because we could bring this scene to an end if you wanted to, but if you have any other questions, she also is clearly saying there'll be more opportunities for us to discreetly meet. We need to be careful about that, but she says we should be able to to kind of converse as we make our journey across.
Uh,
Are there any other mages on board the ship? Does the ship have its own mage?
Um, yeah, she and I guess her eyebrow would raise. A mage. Well, maybe that's why you're here. If you are, of that persuasion, she says, in terms of magic, um, not straight out magicians. She does say that, in terms of the cargo that the captain runs, she would certainly not be surprised if there are, you know, things things that are magical on board. She also says that, and you probably would have heard. Um, yeah, I think you probably had heard below deck some growling, and some. Um, yeah, I guess you just say some loud growling below ship, and she says there, below ship there's some type of animal cargo that we're carrying, and she's not really sure what is that, but she does, she will say that the most valuable cargo, she says it's easy to tell where the most valuable cargo is because um, there's a box that the captain carries, and that box contains the key that he'll use to get into the most prized area. And she's aware of three rooms in particular that the captain unlocks. Your room is one of them. Below deck, where some type of animal or animals are being kept, is another one. And then on your deck, which is one up from that below deck, there's a place beyond your room that the captain periodically goes to. This would be like the the um, the most rearward room on your deck that the captain goes. That those are like three specific areas where the captain carries his box and unlocks the door to kind of go check things out.
How often does the captain sleep?
How often does he sleep? Um, he keeps, you know, he's the captain. He, you know, he doesn't he keeps the normal hours. Yeah, and she does say, we'll let you know that the first mate and the quartermaster are very loyal. That they are a couple,
Yeah.
the two of them. The first mate is a very burly, big fellow, as is the quartermaster. She's also somebody who is quite um, large and looks athletic. I mean, she looks like she can really take care of things physically. Yeah, Shady Dawg, who's talking to you, she looks a little slight to you. She looks athletic, but looks like she can kind of take care of things. You probably, well, you know, it's fair to say that as the journey, if the journey continues, you will see that she is kind of quite adept at kind of climbing up the mast and into the rigging, and she's quite a swift and nimble person who knows her way around the deck. Yeah, and she would also just say, she doesn't know all the special cargo, but that this is a ship that, right, is kind of designed. It's not just usually it's not just carrying ordinary supplies.
Yeah.
It's carrying special supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly valuable,
Hmm.
portable things.
So do you? I mean, is there any other questions you have of her at this point, or?
Um, I don't have anything. I don't have anything specific to ask her now.
I'll say and if you were to and if you were to help us, is the only help you can give us in secret, or will there be a time where you would be able to step out in the light and defy the captain directly?
Um, well, she says we're a bit outnumbered here. Th- there are no more brothers on the ship. She's the only brother on the ship.
Okay.
The in terms of the number of, there's the two of you, there's the three other convicts, and then in terms of the others, there's a 12-person crew that would include the captain and includes the first mate and the quartermaster and includes Shady Dawg. Uh, so we have those four plus eight others. Um, some of whom are new to the ship. Um, you know, Shady Dawg and a couple others have been on the ship a short period of time. Um, and certainly the first mate and quartermaster have a long-term relationship
Yeah.
with Whitemane, right?
Fair enough.
So she says it would be foolhardy just to step up to defy the captain. I don't know what that would get us, except uh, perhaps to be dumped into the sea.
I'll nod and say, then whatever help you can give us from the shadows.
Agreed. Will he pursue us if we escape?
Well, the captain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the captain wouldn't pursue you. I mean, he's purely he's purely a runner. Um, Now the thing is, the captain is typically carrying things because he has arrangements with he has dealings with uh, partners and people and businesses of various types. So you know some of those people would probably, depending on who it is, it might be dangerous. Somebody's probably paid the captain a little bit of money to get you two on board, right? And is expecting, right? That person's expecting a delivery. Skilletan.
Well, they're going to be disappointed.
She laughs. you know, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think that in terms of, she, as I say, she will be available. So I mean,
Yeah.
if there's something else that kind of comes up, you can, talk to her. Um, we could. Well, let's do this. Will one of you roll? We'll kind of bring that scene to an end, and we'll kind of continue the voyage along. She will say the two major stops. En route. There's a group of islands referred to as the Pearl that's kind of halfway across the ocean, and there's a lighthouse there. And so the captain, just for the purposes of navigation and kind of keeping track of exactly where he is, the destination is initially towards the Pearl so that they can get sighting of that. She calls it the Sapphire Lighthouse. It has a kind of brilliant blue light that it puts out, and the captain will be kind of looking for that as a kind of guidepost, and then can take his bearings from there. And then they're going to go off to this forest. It's called the Wovewood forest. It's a kind of forest growing up out of the ocean that is getting somewhat close to the coast of Dolphinia. There's another kind of lighthouse feature there that he'll be kind of looking for, and once he gets the sighting from that, he would then kind of be able to make more direct bearing to Skilletan. Okay, so
Mm. Yeah.
that's the general kind of plan for the navigation, right? The Whitemane kind of knows the ocean, and he's quite a skilled navigator. And so, right, but that's like his typical course that he would be setting.
Okay.
Um, if one of you will roll two six-sided die for me, and this is a roll to assess how the weather goes on your way off to the Pearl from this atoll.
And roll, Sean.
Hmm.
Do you want me to roll?
Yeah, that's good.
3.
3. It's well, the good thing is um your ship is not going to be torn apart by any uh storms. The storm is past, and now I mean, it's not completely stationary, but the wind is not great. It's kind of slow sailing onto the Pearl. The leaving the atoll, right? The captain is probably not really happy initially, right? Would like the trip to be going more swift. Fortunately, though, the golden squid, since it is built for speed, it also just means that even under slight winds, it still gets some movement. Um, um, So, did you all have any desire to talk to the other convicts? There would be an opportunity if you wanted to make some conversation with them.
Yeah,
Or if you want Shady Dawg to make contact.
I think Llewyn would probably try to talk to one of them at least.
Okay. And okay, so Ewan is going to do that.
Yeah.
Let's um and did you want to talk to one of them initially, just like try to get it when one of them is alone?
Yeah, the Fabian person.
Okay, so Fabian Rycroft. Um, let's in terms of how this starts off. Let's go to a roll. And I mean you can do actions using stats. And um, let's just make this a normal challenge. I need to kind of look at what the stats are called to remind myself. The applicable stat here is going to be what does the game call it?
Is it Eloquence or?
Yeah, let me need to learn my terminology for this game. Um, oh, well, okay, yeah, that sounds appropriate. Yeah, so let's go. Eloquence. So it's this. What is your eloquence?
11.
Okay, times three if it's a normal, so that's a 33.
All right. I think probably Ewan would approach him um, during mealtime.
Hmm.
Assuming it was a slop, which you can't really trade. Like so, if Fabian had a piece of food different than mine, so Ewan might go and say, "Hey, just to start a conversation, say, like make the you want to trade." Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. I can't tell which one is tens because yeah, because they were both a 10. So. Okay. 75. So.
Okay. So, um, Rycroft will kind of look you up and down. He kind of looks at the food that you're trying to trade and is like, you know, I'm I'm fine with what I have. I see you're the one hanging around with the odd companion, Bugman.
Yeah, he is. Oh no, he's okay to be. He's okay. You forget that he's an insect after a while.
He says, "Well, that would be pretty hard to forget." Um, you're a curious duo, I must say. I'm suspecting that you know Jen Marin has me and my two buddies, if you could call us that, set up to do some kind of impressive physical feats. But the two of you, I don't know what what's in store for you. Maybe well, maybe your companion to be like a, I don't know, just a spectacle for people to look at. Um, I don't know what your purpose would be.
You just sort of shrugs. It's like, well, maybe the people in Dolphinia were Skilletan. Maybe people in Skilletan have exotic tastes.
Yeah, he says, yeah, I've heard that Skilletan takes all types. Um, and I'm frankly maybe a little eager to see what it's like. I've heard there are all sorts of ways to make one's fortune in Skilletan.
Well, in the arena, is that where your mind wanders?
Well, the arena, yes, but I hear that Skilletan isn't really particular in terms of how people make their fortune. I think it's you know that they are kind of liberated in the way that they kind of think about things there.
Were you not too choosy about how you made your living uh, in the old lands?
Well, I tried to be choosy, but maybe I needed to be more choosy because it ultimately landed me in, where I am right now. But they've first mate told me that told me and my companions that if we don't create any problems on board, um, he'll put in a good word for us when we land in Skilletan, and uh, he says he says that plenty of people have kind of gone across on the golden squid and have been quite happy with where they wound up ultimately.
Well, he would say that. That would be his way of putting some pleasant flavor to the poison and trying to serve us.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't know that I have many options here right now. He's also you all are still like I would say you're kind of lightly shackled, but you still do have some chains on you that would be kind of hampering you. So he just says it's not like there's much options I've been given right now. Give me 1 second. I have a dog that I think wants to
Oh, sure.
come in here. I'll be right back.
All right, I'll be right back as well.
Oh, cool.
Everybody's abandoned John.
John, I was going to ask when Xe'blek talks, what does he sound like?
I think like we'll go. I think the it's not clear from the book, so I think I'll just make it up. So I think when they communicate with other Kytons, it's a lot of like just kind of different, like it sounds like humming or different just vibrations, and then they can mimic other speech but it sort of sounds like like kind of going through like a voice modulator or something, you know. And so I think his ability to capture tone and speak with like full inflection and prosody is always a little impaired
Right.
compared to like someone who has who's sort of working with like the a regular like larynx and everything. So it's probably a little off-putting, an alien,
Hmm.
uh, especially at first. And I think, yeah, so that's why he was partly willing, or not, uh, letting Ewan go forward to speak to those other guys.
Hmm. Um, Llewyn, do you have anything else you want to ask Fabian?
No, not particularly ask. You would just say, well, um, I intend to keep my eyes open for opportunities.
Hmm.
Like in Skilletan or before.
Okay. Um, yeah, and in terms of where these other convicts are kept, that they are very close to your room. It's kind of like you know across the you know in a way, a kind of across the hallway is where these other convicts are kept. I'm trying to see if, like, if you're on the ship a while, you would have a pretty good sense of how um, of how things are laid out. Um, and you definitely, um, you hear those animals below deck. Um, there doesn't seem to be. It's either, you would guess, they, the best you can tell is it seems like there's growling. You would guess it's like a lion or something like that. Maybe two, maybe three of them. Hard to say. Um, and there are other rooms below deck which are kind of periodically kind of looked at with some interest to kind of just check on what is being carried. Um, and yeah, the the way things are going to go between here and that Sapphire Lighthouse, the during the day, the captain is up, right? He's kind of making sure things continue. He's praying for more wind. Usually, at towards the end of the day, there's some type of recreation that's kind of going on. Um, so sometimes, like, especially in the light winds, they sometimes will, if the waters look good, they might kind of dive off the ship a little bit and take a little plunge in the water. They'll have sometimes competitions of different types of, like, climbing up the rigging and things of that sort. uh One day, the competition they decide on is some kind of wrestling and brawling, that is going to take place. And they'll get two people to kind of square off, and there's some type of in the mid deck area, there's like this kind of brawling that happens. You see probably a couple, rounds, different people squaring off. They make sure that nobody gets too severely injured with this. But then um, the uh, the first mate comes up to the two of you and says, um, you know, you haven't seen the ship's champion fighting yet. With the two of you, two of you could go up against the ship's champion to see how you might fare. Are you game for that?
What does it give us if we win?
Well, he says you probably get something special for dinner.
A silver robe, perhaps? Is that what we...
Oh, no, no, no. Well, yeah, I mean there may be some of those yeah, silver robe fish still saved for a special occasion. Yeah, so you might that could probably be arranged.
Oh, let me. Um, I, I think. Um, um,
Oh, and Llewyn does have brawling as as a a skill. Even if you don't have the skill, you can still. I mean, it's you know you can still roll, but it's not great odds when you're trying to
Right.
use a skill that you don't have.
uh, I think. I'm trying to think of what Xe'blek would say. Um, he'll say, I do not I do not I do not struggle for the amusements of ruffians like yourselves. Um, there is no there would be no purpose in me besting your champion.
Um,
You just sort of smiles about that.
And it will be in that like you say, like sort of alien, like off-putting, like toneless voice. So
you know the first mate says, I've not dealt with your type very much before, although I'm a little disappointed because I certainly have heard that in terms of battles of various types, your type is renowned as being fairly well fairly well equipped to handle themselves.
it would be. It is not sport when when I face a foe in battle. It is never sport. It's and I do not when I face a foe in battle. It is never sport, and it is not spectacle.
Hey, Nikki, can you take them out because I can't handle with them? Okay. All right. Well, he says,
And then and they'll say, and and as you can see, and I'll sort of flex my impact, which is still chained up. And as you can see, you know, my I'm not built for sparring with soft creatures such as yourselves.
well, he says you don't need to worry about us soft creatures. This is all just, this is all just for a game anyway. Nobody will get seriously hurt. But if you're not inclined to participate in the game, is there anything that would entice you?
Uh, I would, I would fight for my. Yeah. No, this is what he said. I would fight. I would fight for my freedom to make my own choices once I land in Dolphinia. But that is beyond. I fear that is beyond the power of even your captain to grant.
Yes, I fear the deal has already been made for with the captain. Uh, that that would be kind of out of his control, right? There's somebody has I think paid a fair sum to bring you uh, to to where we are heading. So he turns to you, uh, Llewyn, and says, "Well, um, if your friend isn't willing to enter the ring, perhaps you still would be with one of the other convicts that we are carrying."
Llewyn will nod. So, sure. We'll pass the time.
Okay, so I mean, we could if you're willing. Let's say that it's we'll bring Fabian back up um, as the one. And the champion that you would be squaring off against is the quartermaster. Um, and let me find her card here. So, I mean, her name is um, Carolina Savage Draken is what her name is. I mean, she usually just goes by Savage. She's, as I say, she's a uh, a um, physically imposing woman who is, you could see by the way that she handles herself around the ship. She knows what she is doing, and uh, she seems to be somebody who would be quite capable of handling herself. I guess for this, John, why don't you take over for the purposes of the fight? You can go on and take over Fabian if you want to drag. Um, I guess what I don't know that the two of you could maybe start one of you in the lower left corner, one in the lower right corner. Okay, and then I'll put Savage here. We'll see if this works. And she'll be facing down here. So what we can do is I was thinking for the purposes of this, it's going to be if somebody has 3 blows landed against them, they'll be eliminated. So if the 2 of you can land 3 blows on her, she'll be eliminated. If she gets 3 blows against one of you, that person would be eliminated, and the brawl would continue with the other one. This is not going to be lethal, right? And the sense is that with this one, well, I mean, now you could tell me otherwise. I mean, you could say, no, this is going to be a legitimate, right? And when I hit her, I want to actually take the full 2 damage off of it. The spirit of this, though, it would, I mean, that would be kind of going against what you can clearly see. The spirit of it is they want a good physical combat, but they're not looking to actually break bones or do kind of really serious consequential damage. Now, if you want, and I don't think Fabian would do that. Sean, you're in charge of your character, so if you want him to really, do the damage, you can go there if you would like. So with combat, I'm gonna go see our first little taste of the combat rules. There is not going to be surprise here. So we're going to roll a d10. You do 1 roll for the 2 of you for initiative.
Okay.
And I will roll for Savage.
5.
Okay, I rolled a 2, so let me. Okay. We there are no Glenna in the air for this. So, and there is a magic phase. Sean, had you are you inclined to use any spells?
I don't think I've got 1. Earth. Earth. Wow, what is it? Blend to Earth. So I don't think that's going to do me a lot of good right there.
Okay. There's a missile phase, and I don't think there are any missile weapons unless you were kind of hoping to pick something up.
Yeah.
And so now it is the melee phase, and I think the way that we would, there is going to be a later movement phase.
Yeah.
So we could either skip the melee because you'd say, well, you have to kind of move. Maybe we'll just do that and just go and do we want to just do the movement phase and then we'll probably get into melee range.
Yeah, and then
and the way this would go is after melee is completed, characters may move. Each character has a number of movement points based on his agility. The side that lost initiative this round moves each figure 1 hex, and I lost initiative, so I move first. So I would move 1. I think she's going to go there. Which one is Fabian? Is the Fabian on the right or on the left?
On the left.
left.
Okay. I think Savage looks upon Llewyn as the more easy target, and so that's where she's heading. So she moves one hex that way, and then the two of you can go and move a hex. Okay, and then she's gonna go and move here to engage Llewyn. Llewyn, did you want to move, or do you want to just kind of stay there and? Okay. And then for her third movement, I think she will move here. And you are allowed to get one turn
Yeah.
kind of for free. So,
There you go.
and then her last movement, she's just gonna stay there. She wants to punch Llewyn. So you all can move if you have any movement left.
I only have movement of 2, so.
Oh, you're done. Okay.
I'm done.
And interesting. Okay.
Okay, and I'm assuming the two of you would be turning just to face Savage.
Well, I don't have enough. So I don't have enough.
But it is in your front, right? So I don't.
I think I think she's in my
the
front.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And Llewyn, where are you facing? Are you?
In theory, I'm facing. So, yeah, in theory, I'm facing. Because that's the top normally, so the hilt really is the top of the dagger.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're all basically facing each other. So I think we would go to another roll of the initiative die for this round.
8 for us.
Okay. So that is you win the initiative. I rolled a 5, and I think should we just go right to the There's not going to be magic or missile. We're just going to go straight to the melee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the way that this goes is we look at the combat tactics, and the person with the highest combat tactics would go first. If they both have the same combat tactics, then the one that wins initiative goes first. Fabian has a 3 in that category. Savage has a 4.
Ooh, wow. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And does Llewyn? Have you figured out the combat tactic? Okay. So
no, he doesn't have any. Yeah.
Okay. So she's gonna go with her brawling ability. With brawling, we don't have to worry about the weapons, right? Because with weapons, then you can assign defensive bonus and the other. I think the way that brawling works, let me just go double check it. This skill is unarmed combat. As a combat skill, all combat tactics apply. And if you're kind of going for full damage is 2 points per hit. Do you have a defensive bonus?
Of -5.
-5. Okay. All right. So let's see how this goes. All right. She rolled a. She wants to roll low. She rolled a 99.
Nice.
Which is not a good roll. um, I'm trying to look to see if that results in any.
It's not a fumble.
Right. Okay, but you know she I guess she probably just thinks that Llewyn is going to be easy for the taking, and is perhaps a little too cocky, and kind of is, you know, rears back, clearly telegraphs her blow, and Llewyn, you're kind of easy to kind of step aside. Um, so now it would, I guess, be Fabian's turn. Fabian has a 50. Let's see if she has a defensive. She has a defensive bonus of -5.
Oh, so wait, is a defensive bonus of -5?
Yes.
Okay. Is that like, wait, does that mean he adds?
I think that's how it works. You would add
Yeah.
5 to your.
Okay. So I'll use all my brawling on attack.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use all my skill to attack her.
Okay.
But I also roll a 99.
Oh, you rolled a 99.
Yes.
Weird odds of that.
That's wild. There you
Okay.
go.
So Llewyn, it's your turn.
Yep.
That's wild.
They step up and sort of try to bring, like, put a knee into Savage. 18 out of 45.
So yeah, so you score a decisive hit. Tell us what kind of a hit you want. I mean, brawling could be anything. It could be a punch. It could be an elbow. It could be, you know, a kick. You know.
Yeah, I think probably basically comes up and puts a knee right into her thigh.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get the impression she's probably a little taller than he is. So
Yes.
you know, basically comes up and just puts a knee like right into her thigh, in the meaty part of her thigh,
Mm-hmm.
in a really painful way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so she kind of yells out, you know, not only did she miss you, but, you know, then, you know, she has the indignity of suffering a kind of sturdy blow by you. So we go to the next round. So that's one hit, right? As I say, three will say that she kind of loses the combat. Um, I think if this sounds reasonable, I think she's gonna just try to stay square with Llewyn. Um, and I think what that ends up meaning is that she, you know, if Fabian wants to move behind her, um, that would be possible.
He will try to move behind her.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to just kind of position right, and she's just going to kind of keep herself kind of squared up.
3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So he kind of circles around.
Yeah, and if attacked from the rear, they suffer a -10 modifier to their defensive bonus.
Okay.
Okay, so that'll be in your advantage. Um, And I think, at this point, because we all have different combat tactics, right? So we really probably don't need to roll initiative because it's if the combat tactics differ, then initiative becomes irrelevant. Um,
Right.
so she will get to go first. Um, um, and you said you had a -5, is that right, Llewyn? So she normally needs a 60. With the -5, that means a 65, correct? That she would need. She rolled a 71, so she almost 6 points off. So it's a pretty close. This time, a pretty close graze. I think the sense is she's taking you a little bit more seriously. But maybe it's that pain in the thigh, right? And she's still kind of like suffering from that, so she ends up missing. And so now we're on to Fabian.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of put the hammer down on the back of her neck. Well, I'm not gonna aim a shot. I'm not aiming the shot. I'm just
Right.
please be clear about that. I'm swinging wildly. 71. I don't think that is. I do not think that's successful,
No,
even
that
from
is
behind.
that is not. And so now we're on to Llewyn. Llewyn may single-handedly, right? This wispy mage may end up.
No, 53. No, wait. No, I missed. Yeah, I missed. Well, what is her? Oh, she has a -5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's close. Hold on. So opposed skills like brawling are 40 plus 5% per rank, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I need a 50. I rolled 53 and I need a 50. So I got close as well.
Yeah, the two of you are really, I think, yeah, but both kind of grazing each other. Um, yeah, so that brings that to an end. I think she's content to just stay there and try to, maybe the third time is the charm for her. Do either of you want to change your position at this point?
No, Llewyn would change position to favor Fabian
Mm-hmm.
if need be, but otherwise no.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we can just kind of
As long as I'm behind her,
yeah, you would still stay behind her because the way
Yeah.
things are working, she wouldn't be able to. Yeah, so she's gonna take her shot again. Let's see. She got a 5, a 0.5, which I think uh, is a
Sexual.
yeah. That's let me go because like if you're very successful, where is the rules for the
20% or less of target number is a special.
right?
And 5% or less of target number is a critical.
Yeah, this isn't 5%, but you said 20%. What page is that on? Oh, here. No, I don't know.
140.
140. Okay. Yeah. So, but this is brawling. So I mean, the kind of it's a special hit. Um, I think what I would say with the special hit is she lands her blow. Um, I think um, I think what this is going to mean is to give her some advantage from the special hit. It means that Llewyn, you're going to have a 10% penalty applied because, right? I mean, it's like sufficiently forceful that you're not going to be able to get like the full benefit of your attack because you're going to be, she may be kind of kind of gets you in the chest, and it hurts, and you're kind of like going backwards with this one. But Fabian, it's not going to affect you, so you can go in and get your blow in.
A 0-1. There we go.
Oh,
That's wild.
so that is a critical hit.
That is a critical. Yes.
Um, Again, right, the critical hit table on 141 is I think more for weapons.
Yeah, really more for weapons.
Um,
I got 37 defender stunned, defensive bonus -5 for next round.
all right, so let's just say this, because like a critical hit should be like special. Let us say that you do knock her out. I mean, not going to be but like she's I don't think she's out for a really long time, but it's the kind of thing where right, they have to stop the fight because she's like so vulnerable, right? I mean, she's kind of laid out on the deck, right? um uh we'll have to see. That may earn some extra animosity for especially for Fabian, right? Maybe he'll want to join up with you. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that seems fair, right? That we just say that, yeah, that ends the battle.
Good.
Yeah, and that's probably good timing here. I see it's coming up on 11 o'clock. We get a little bit of taste of what the combat will be like. I'll try to be a little more smooth with with the Owlbear rodeo in the future. It's a little clunky, at least initially, for me, but
Yeah, it takes a little time. It's I like it because it's easy. There's not too many other bells and whistles, but the manipulating, the turning, the rotating the things can be tricky, and there's like pitfalls in you like accidentally resizing tokens instead of
yeah.
turning them is a major issue.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. I mean, this is the system he really wants you to set it up for like playing it out on a battle mat grid, and the movements and facings and all of that stuff, which is a little bit new for me. I'm usually not quite. Um, when I first started playing D&D, we would use like little miniatures, but it was mainly just like to help with visualizing. It wasn't like meticulously worked out in terms of like we didn't like play it with the movement, specific grids and things like that we were doing. Um, I think just before we break, um, at the end of a session, it says you can give between 40 and 100 points for, leveling up. I'll go on and just say 50 points. I mean, we didn't, we got a little bit of play in, so you can, look at the rules for, what you can do with those experience points. Get some choices. I apologize for the dogs in the background. Guys, knock it off. Stop it. Time to go to bed.
They want to play too.
They clearly they're doing their own brawling, right? Maybe we got them in the spirit. Yeah, that was fun though. I liked the little little brawling session.
I did too. That was not that complex.
Yeah.
I'll have once we get to doing magic, I'll have definitely we'll have to figure out preparation, right? Because that might not be a thing. But no, I liked it. That was fun.
Yeah, I did. By the way, I do have like a wandering monster table that I came up with, and I did roll like, and I put some extra dice in there because the trip to this one lighthouse would take a little bit longer. But I didn't roll up any wandering monsters in the ocean, but that may happen. Could I get one of you to roll like 2d6 again? Because that'll just determine the weather as you kind of approach and move past the lighthouse.
5.
A 5. So, um, That's good, right? I mean, what I said is like, if you're in the 7 range, that's like almost ideal sailing weather. Low, it means kind of, like a 2 would be absolute doldrums, right? Where you actually would be kind of sitting there, not moving really. A 3, moving a little bit. So a 5, the wind is picking up a little bit, so that, as you'll kind of approach the lighthouse, and that'll take you past the lighthouse. And I'll between now and the next time we play, I'll probably do uh, a few wandering monster rolls to see if anything kind of shows up. And then there may be something happening around the lighthouse, because the lighthouse is part of this kind of the pearl, which has it's a whole kind of cluster of islands. And so I've been giving some thought as to like what might be you know out in those islands, so but that's where we would pick up, I think, the next time.